So professional development, and by that I mean things like certifications and trainings and conferences, are all an important part of developing your career and making sure that you have the necessary skills and connections to advance in your career and get to whatever next level you want for your professional life. But a lot of those activities can come at a pretty penny. So how do you get your employer to sponsor you for these types of activities? And this is what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hey wealth builders, and welcome back to another episode of The Bemused. My name is Akiva, and on this channel we make sense of all things money for young adults just like me. So if you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, turn on the notification bell so you never miss when we post new videos. Now, I'm still relatively new in my career. I've been working full-time for just over 2 years now. But even in the short span of my career, my employer has already paid for a number of professional development activities, including certifications, conferences, and memberships to professional organizations. And I'm talking about things that aren't specifically outlined as employee benefits. So how did I get my employer to do that, and how can you convince your employer to sponsor those types of activities for you so that you can advance in your career? So as you guys know by now, I work as a financial planner, and so to give you some examples of the kinds of things my employer has paid for, in addition to my CFP certification, my Certified Financial Planner certification, which is a standard benefit for all employees, for all financial planning employees that is, my employer has also paid for my personal financial specialist designation and all of the fees related to maintaining my CPA certification. And if you want to learn more about some popular financial designations like the ones I just mentioned, we did a whole video on that, so make sure you check out that video. I'll have the card linked right up here so you can go check it out. My job has also paid for me to attend conferences like FinCon. We also did a FinCon recap if you're interested in looking at that, so I'll link the card up here. And also things like the CFP Board's Diversity Summit, which actually I've also made a video on, so you can go check that out as well. They've also paid for my membership fees in professional organizations like the Financial Planning Association and the Association of African American Financial Advisors. So I'm going to share 4 tips that I've used and that you can use if you would like your employer to pay for these kinds of activities. So tip number 1, before you make any ask, please make sure you're in good standing with your employer. In other words, make sure you're actually doing your job. The last thing you want to do is ask your employer to shell out thousands of dollars to send you to a conference when you're on thin ice or on probation of any kind. That's a no-no. So make sure you're in good standing before making any type of ask. Tip number 2, know who to ask, and it's really important. And direct your request to the right person or people that you need to get things done efficiently. For example, if requests like this should go to your direct manager, but you know they're horrible at checking emails, maybe you might want to have an in-person conversation with them first and then follow up with an email so that it's on their radar and you have a higher chance of actually getting that moving quickly. Also, if you know your request has to eventually go to HR, for example, in your email you might send it to your direct manager but also copy HR, so that way everybody down the chain of command and whoever needs to approve it down the line already knows about the situation from the jump, so that it's easier to kind of get through those rings. Tip number 3 is to know how to ask, and this is actually really important. Please don't come off as entitled in any way. Remember, your employer doesn't owe you anything. They're not obligated to pay for anything for you. You are an employee. Remember that. You're the one making the ask. So here are some essential elements to include in your request. First, I include a short summary as to what I'm asking for, and then I include a link where they can find more detailed information. Remember, people don't have all day, so they're not going to want to read through your pages and pages of explanation as to what your ask is, whether it's a conference or a membership. They're not going to read through pages to understand exactly what it is. Just a short summary, and if they want to know more details, just include a link to the website or something like that where they can learn more. Secondly, and most importantly, you need to demonstrate how this benefits the company. So for example, one of my most recent asks was asking for them to pay for my membership to GRAD, or the Association of African American Financial Advisors. And in my email request, I had to demonstrate how that benefits the company, how it relates to my work. So I'm actually one of the co-leaders for our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force at my job. So I was able to say, you know, this will be really beneficial to the work that we're doing on the task force because of A, B, C, and D, and this is how it benefits the firm. Thirdly, if whatever you're asking requires you to be out of the office, especially for an extended period of time, more than a day or two, you need to also include in your ask how you plan to get your work done, or what is your plan for making sure things get done in your absence. The fourth thing to include is the costs that are involved. So if it's a membership fee, a conference, whatever, make sure you say what the cost is in your ask. And a bonus tip is, if you can, show how you have tried to reduce the costs for the company. For example, whether it's you applied for a scholarship program for this certification or conference, but you didn't get through. That's something that you might want to mention to show that you proactively went and tried to reduce costs for the company. Or if there are early bird discounts, for example, for a lot of events and conferences, and you're trying to take advantage of that early bird discount, also mention that in your email. One, because it shows you're trying to save the firm money, and two, they have more of an incentive to approve your request faster because they know they can get it at a better deal at this time rather than waiting later in the game. The last tip is to know when to ask. You've got to know your company culture. If you know that your ask is a high dollar ask, and you know that the budget, for example, the corporate budget is set towards the end of the year for the next year, you might want to ask around that time. Right now is December. Corporations that run on a calendar fiscal year are setting their budgets for 2020 or are finalizing their budgets for 2020. So I can't come with a $20,000 ask in January when the budget's already been set. They may not be able to accommodate that request for the time that I want it. So if you know that that is something that might be an issue for you, make sure you ask very early in the process, so that way if it's something that they want to do, they can accommodate for it in their corporate budget. Or maybe you know that somebody in the approval chain of command is either on sabbatical or likes to go on vacation at a certain time of year. Make sure you know those things so you can be proactive about it and ask at a time that works, so that you're not stuck waiting for someone to get back from vacation to approve your request. Or maybe they just might get super busy around certain times of year. You just got to know the people who need to approve it and work around their preferences. Or maybe they're just in a grumpy mood on Mondays, so don't ask on a Monday. Things like that, just to keep in mind. Remember that you are the driver of your career and your professional development, and your employer can be a great partner in that. And they can sponsor activities that can be mutually beneficial. So advocate for yourself, and future you will thank you. If you guys have any experience with making a big ask for your company to sponsor something and getting it approved, make sure you leave your stories and experiences down in the comments below so that we all can learn from them. If you haven't yet joined the squad, make sure you hit that subscribe button on your way out and hit that notification bell so you don't miss when we post new videos, which in the month of December is a lot of videos, so make sure you're sticking around. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.